Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
The nighttime is the right time, and that's where we're at. Or are we? I don't know. Let me see. Nope, it's still bright out. So Jesse was saying, really, if you look at the times we always go live, we're right on time. But Jesse was saying he's running a few minutes behind because he mentioned that daylight is throwing him off. Yeah, me too. Every time the last couple weeks, I'm used to Grawlix Nights actually being night.
Yeah, we like in the dark.
It's like dark. It's like 6 p.m. and it's like brightly lit, like 4 o'clock. You know,
right. So here's what's on the agenda tonight. We're gonna try to keep it brief. Last week I talked about limiting us to an hour. Because believe it or not, we are having a lot of trouble keeping these shows under 2 hours anymore.
Right.
So I actually might put an alarm on us. But what we're going to be talking about, our feature topic is Loki, episode 1, because for once, a new show is coming out weekly, and we are on the day after. We don't have to wait like a week to a half a week or to like a month like we used to sometimes to talk about a thing.
Right.
2 years for anything Star Wars. So we're going to talk about Loki and then also Sweet Tooth. Have you guys been watching Sweet Tooth? Is it too sweet? You got cavities?
It's a little sweet. I mean,
yeah.
We'll get into that.
So.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Oh, I missed that whole intro. You know what? I'm going to hit record on the audio.
Oh.
That's okay. I'll rip the intro from the video, or from the YouTube. YouTube took that long to load?
Well, I noticed that Twitch just sent me a notification that we're live.
Wow.
There's some serious delay in this tonight. I don't know.
Wow.
Wow.
Why is that guy in my mind? And honestly, like, that's the main stuff I've been watching. I don't have a whole lot for the, like, what have you been watching this week? Which is fine because we got to limit ourselves. But how you guys been doing? Got any interesting updates since the last we talked?
Nope.
I did do my first in-person local comic book store show, and I didn't make any money, but it felt good to be behind the table again.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's great.
Yeah.
I am going to set an alarm for 55 minutes from now. And then at that point, or 57 minutes from now, I guess. And at that point, it will be time for Melanie's. What are you? Why should we be? Or wait, I'm sorry. What's the segment? Mel-splaining. I think I heard it called that once. On some other show.
Right.
Oh, Paul, you know what? You're right. That is the one non-related to Loki and Sweet Tooth thing that we discussed talking about. The He-Man teaser. He-Man. What's the full title? Masters of
the Universe Revelations.
Revelations.
Right.
The Netflix thing that it was. What's Kevin Smith's connection? Is he just producing it? Did he write it? Did he co-write it? Did he? I feel like he's just maybe producing it.
Is he?
I don't know.
I thought he had something to do with the writing.
Well, that would, I guess, make more sense. But yeah, I'm not sure.
It could just be a director. Who knows?
Well, you know what I say?
Just a director.
I know.
Yeah.
So, okay, here, Paul. This is my thoughts on it. It looked pretty cool. My first instinct was, is it better than that? What's the name of that song, though? That He-Man...
What's Up? It's called What's Up by Four Non-Blondes.
Yep.
That cover of What's Up set to some very fabulous He-Man animation. Will it be better than that? Probably not.
How do you improve on perfection? You don't.
That's right.
It's only downhill from there, but I mean...
I will say it looked very cool. Mark Hamill as Skeletor? I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar? Wow.
Yeah.
Alicia
there's some
Silverstone?
huge
wow, the
names.
voice cast.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy, the voice cast is insane.
And even the original Skeletor came back to voice Moss Man, I guess. So Alan Oppenheimer is even in this thing.
That's
so
pretty
it's
cool.
exciting. It's exciting for sure. And this is a great trailer. And I didn't think it kicks into I need a hero. And I thought, oh no. And then I was like, you know what? That is pretty played out, but for this property, it's kind of the perfect song.
Yeah, I was actually very amused by that. I was like, it's not Four Non-Blondes, but it's a little fabulous. So
yeah. Oh my God. If they would have gone 4 non-blondes on it.
listen, one episode, just give me, wait, is it a series? Or is it
It's like a mini series, I believe.
Give us
It's basically a
post-credits-
one season thing.
Give us a little post-credits music video. That's all I'm saying. You guys come on. You guys should know how to manufacture viral videos at this point. It's already done for you.
Right.
Doesn't have to be a part of the actual episode. Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Masters of the Universe. Jesse, though, you're always my go-to, though. You're much more tied into the universe and their masters. But it looked cool, for sure. It looked cool. The animation was interesting in that, just from the clips we saw in the trailer. It's not... All modern animation has an almost too clean look, but occasionally it looked pretty cool. Like, I don't know. There's a certain time period of, like, 80s animation, which is the early stuff I grew up on, obviously, that had a more detailed, shaded comic book look, even if the animation itself, like, there are probably a lot less cells and actual movement going on. And I missed that. So, and it's apparent when you see a He-Man that's like super clean lines, although the original wasn't super detailed, but it looked cool though.
It gives me a similar vibe to the 2000s series, where they rebooted He-Man in the 2000s, but nobody really cared. And it wasn't a bad series or anything, but it just wasn't the right time for it. This looks like that a little bit, but nicer somehow. And Paul just comes in with the chat saying it's pretty much what I just said.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right. Oh, and they turned Orko into a beast. I thought I saw him for a moment and it looked weird, but I only watched the trailer once.
Well, like his magic was just like going toe to toe with this. It was like, whoa, that's awesome. The thing I really liked was like the Basher, like the vehicles were playing heavily into this teaser trailer, and like He-Man catches the Dino Bashers. I don't know what that is, a boulder, like a steel ball, and just like catches it and just like, I'm gonna throw the whole thing.
It is. I do like the idea of, I mean, because those cartoons seem like, yeah, they should be actiony, but then you actually watch the old school cartoons and they're not real actiony because action costs a lot of money to animate.
Sure does. Same punch every time.
Yes. So I am excited to see, it realized a little bit more. What's the word? I want to say frenetically, but I feel like that's not right.
Kinetically, like
kinetically. Yes. There you go.
I mean, it could be frenetic, but frenetic isn't always going to be a good thing when it comes to action. That's more like Kung Fu Hustle level of like that's kinetic and frenetic. When you got like fists and cows and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Kung Fu Hustle is amazing.
It's a masterpiece. Yeah,
it's so good. Shaolin Soccer is also good. I like Kung Fu Hustle more. The sequel has been in the works for ages. I feel like it's one of those movies that got maybe slightly derailed during COVID, but there's actually a sequel that's been in the works at some point, and someday it'll happen. Totally off topic. Melanie.
Yes.
I feel like this Masters of the Universe, maybe not enough She-Ra. And I don't say that just because you're a woman. I'd say that because you've mentioned She-Ra multiple times.
Because She-Ra was much more bad butt than He-Man, in my opinion. But
Yeah. He-Man.
She had way more power of Grayskull.
mhm,
Even though she said that for the honor of Grayskull, her sword did everything. Like her sword could like transform, it could heal people, it could
mhm.
turn her into an Amazon.
And she was raised as a rebel, so she spent her whole life fighting. She didn't like suddenly come into it as a man-child,
Right.
later in life. So
The He-Man, the ultimate man-child. He's the man-child fantasy. That actually makes a whole lot of sense.
mhm,
Savannah says, I never watched any of these. You were too young, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
use a baby.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, there we
Jesse.
go. Yeah. Bad Gamer Elite. It's tuning in, calling me a toy sociopath. He's not wrong.
Jesse, you're going to get a bad reputation amongst the toy collectors, which I feel like is a
I
group
believe
of
I
people
already
you
do.
like.
I know. It's a bad habit. It's a bad habit.
So Jesse did a TikTok video you shared with me earlier. Did you?
Well, not
post that
just
today?
one.
Yeah, I
Not
was gonna say,
just
was it-
one.
A series
Oh.
of them, I believe.
Oh yeah, no, the one I sent you today was the one that I did for today. That was about.
I was
tonight's
amused
stream.
because you destroyed toy packaging as a throwaway in a video that was essentially just promoting this live stream. It's like a half second, like, I mean, I still do that, crunch, and then you were off. And like,
It was like I shoehorned it in the most unimaginative way.
oh, it was great because it felt like like you care so little for these toy boxes.
Well, I mean, like it's getting to that point where it's like, man, you can only destroy a box so many ways creatively.
Mhm.
I'm still gonna do it, but
The Gametographers on Twitch, by the way. Hey, thanks for watching. It's so rare to get people in on Twitch. That's not just a random spam bot.
yeah, can I shout them out real quick? They're doing a charity stream, like a 24-hour charity stream. I believe this weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you guys should check them out. The Gametographers. There's like more than one channel, so make sure you go to the Gametographers on Twitch tomorrow. I was wrong, so thank you. 24 hours starting tomorrow.
Well, and he's going to shout you out to the authorities for the atrocities you've committed.
I mean, they are like war crimes if G.I. Joes are actual soldiers.
That's great. They say 8 p.m.
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay. I'm assuming Central Time. But if not, just wait an hour. Or you're an hour late.
Or be an hour early. Just block out 2 to 3 hour time tomorrow night.
You know what would be the best? Just go subscribe and get a notification, and then boom, you'll know.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Well, do we want to let's segue over to something Melanie might have some thoughts on, and also Jesse, you have some information about that I kind of want to probe you about because I have not had a chance to read any of this. Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is a series on Netflix. Oh, by the way, the Gametographers said that's the only correct time. I'm assuming Central Time.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We meet in the middle, obviously.
I mean, it's not like we're in the center of. Okay, not
We are the
universe.
center of attention.
Yes. Yeah, Sweet Tooth is a series on Netflix based upon a comic book of the same title by, was it Jeff Lemire wrote the comic, I believe?
Yep.
We like several of his things on this show. And it's a post kind of apocalyptic sci-fi fantasy thing. Drama, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'll pull up a picture, but
All the fun things, huh?
it's okay. So the central premise is, man, yeah, I fell down a
I
small
can't wait
rabbit
to
hole.
get in. I can't wait to get into like the discrepancies between the two because I was trying to explain it to Axton, good buddy of the show, Axton, how different this was, and so I was like, look, this is how the comic opens.
Okay, so on a perilous adventure across a post-apocalyptic world, a lovable boy who's half human and half deer searches for a new beginning with a gruff protector. That's not what I was. That's their overview. I was gonna say going on the show because, like I said, I haven't read the comic. It basically virus wipes out a whole bunch of people at the same time, for like reasons nobody understands. A bunch of babies are born half human, half random animals,
I,
and
I don't think they're quite half. I don't know why it's like half this and half that. It's like a little, like a quarter.
because I don't want to get into
hybrid.
specific percent. 47%. No, they're hybrid. They're human animal things, and mostly human looking, but with animal features. And yeah, and it basically they're like, whatever, society collapse and
Yeah.
collapses, and we've got kind of it's a new world out there.
Hmm.
First off, in general of the show, and then I do want to get into the differences. What did you? Oh, so it's an anthropomorphic Bambi. Is Thumper
And flour.
and Flower in it too?
Maybe.
You can
Funny,
call me
funny you should
Flower.
say that because that has something to do with like the comic version. Like Bambi actually plays into it.
Well, watching the show, I thought it seemed a little too sweet, a little too nice and sweet, for the era it's supposed to be in. But I believe Randall was telling me, Jesse, that it's not quite as nice and sweet in the comic book.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, from the trailer, the trailer itself had a weird tone. So overall, so far, Melanie and I have watched the first 3 episodes, maybe. And Jesse, I don't know if you're still on 2, but I know you had watched 2.
No, I actually started 4, so
Okay.
I'll
So
maybe have
far-
to be a little careful about. I don't know how many
Spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
So far, I'm enjoying it. I like the show. Tonally, it is weird, and I kind of got that when we took a look at the first trailer, and tonally it's still weird because the setting is at odds with. It has this almost like folksy, whimsy kind of tone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like a goofy comedy or anything like that, but it's got a even the look. It's got an uplifting, folksy look. I hate the narrator. I hate the narrator. I don't hate what he does. He just adds to this weird tonal clash where he's like like an older, almost country. That voice, I picture like
almost like the narrator from A Christmas Story or something.
Yeah, and there's times when his delivery is so cornball where his voice almost cracks like he's like on the other side of the mic about crying, and it's like that's not even really appropriate for the lines he's delivering. It's not like an emotional thing he's narrating at this moment. Also, the first episode has like the story starts here like in 5 different places.
Yeah. Yes.
So that is a little off-putting to me when you then look at also like a boy, human boy, or I mean, sorry, a deer human boy, and the hybrids are not like particularly mutated. They look like fantasy people, and then you're like, but also virus wiped out most of humanity, and roving bands of mercenaries and headhunters, and it's a post-apocalyptic world, and they'll burn you alive in your house if they think you have the disease.
I don't like diseases, but that disease seems pretty cool. I love the finger twitch. That's fun stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the virus aspect is definitely scary and well done. It's not, for a post-apocalyptic movie virus thing. Yeah, right. For sure. And they just call it the sick, I think. Yeah, it's such a weird mesh. And also, they shot the pilot in 2019 for Hulu. It ended up getting picked up by Netflix. and then they shot the rest of the series in 2020 with a bit of an interruption due to COVID. And I'm just like, how many bricks do you think they crapped? Like going into 2020, gearing up to go full-time production on this virus show.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But it's weird enough and different enough that I don't think it should matter really.
I mean, it is weird, but it's also like, it's not like, it does have that fantasy element. So that helps, I think, to make it not seem too on the nose or too like just bad timing.
Right.
Jesse, what do you think of the show, and what are some of those differences? How's it compared to the comic?
Okay, so like you were talking about the tone, and I would agree. Like, it's very the closest thing I can come up with is Harry Potter, because it's all magic and fun, and it feels like everything's just going to be okay if they just try hard enough. But there's also this like overarching looming threat that gets scarier and scarier kind of thing. So like that's the closest thing I can come up with is Hunger Games or Harry Potter, which both have that kind of looming threat, but also firmly in kind of a young adult way. And I feel like this show is kind of geared towards that, since it's TV 14. I like that's who they're targeting this at. They're legit going for that crowd. But the comic. So this is where we're gonna have to get into a little bit of spoilers, I think. Is that all right?
Yeah. I mean, I say so.
Okay, so like it happens early on in both the show and in the comic, but the premise is that this dear boy named Gus, who is later nicknamed Sweet Tooth, is essentially living alone and being lied to by his father in like really bizarre ways to keep him in this certain forest so that he can remain safe for as long as possible, kind of thing. And where the comic and the show diverge is right away. Like, first of all, if you're not familiar with Jeff Lemire's art style, you should take a look at just take a look at the cover. And Gus is very like gaunt and frightened, and he does not feel hopeful or uplifted at any point, really. And that was one of the first things that I was like, this seems really different when I watched the trailer, just to begin. Yeah, well, the way that the comic opens is with Gus's dad dying of the sick. Like, that's how it opens. That's how it starts. So right off the bat, we're getting hit with that. And then it's kind of like, you don't get any of that buildup. You don't get any of that context. They had almost a fairy tale backstory of how this all happened and when the babies were born and all of that. No, Gus is like 10 or 11 right off the bat, and his father is dying. And so it's one of those storytelling devices where we just plunk right down into the middle of it and figure it out along the way, which works better for comics than for television. So I know why they did it the way they did. But like, as far as like this unease and the threat, it's with you from page 1 in the comic. So that's a major difference. And then like I sent you guys a screen cap of one of the pages. Once they leave the forest, once they leave the cabin and they start traveling out into the real world, well, there's Mr. Jeopard, who is done really well. And I like what they've done with changing the character a little bit. They made him kind of like a celebrity and kind of a football player. And they're obviously going to go further with this character than they do in the comic, at least in the first volume. He's pretty threatening in the comic, and they do that, his whole interaction and his introduction to Sweet Tooth in almost the same way, like panel for panel. And that was pretty cool how true to the comic that was. But then they go out into the world, and in the comic, you could see just how stark and grisly and sudden everything happens in this one panel where they're like, hey, we got to go this way. And then they turn the corner and it's just like a field of bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just everywhere kind of thing. I was like, yeah, that doesn't happen in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up the picture, but I can't figure out how to make it like larger to share on the screen.
Oh yeah. The other thing that is a little different, but not totally outside of things, like you guys haven't gotten to episode 4 yet, and I think this happens in episode 4 where Sweet Tooth, they kind of hint at it that he has these dreams, this imagination that runs wild kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In the book, he finds like an abandoned house, and he goes in there and he basically finds a book of Bambi, but it's not Bambi. It's, like parody version of Bambi, like Dampy or something like that, or Dandy. I think it was Dandy the deer, but it's so clearly a parody of Bambi. And so he has this dream where Dandy the deer, Dandy the beer.
So somebody's thirsty.
I guess. He's warning Sweet Tooth not to go with this man. They're like, don't go with this man. He's bad. He's bad news. And Thumper is like there, like saying the same thing. You got to run. You have to run. So he has these like wild dreams. And the first one that he's had that I'm aware of happens in episode 4. And that helps to kind of darken the mood a little bit. So, I mean, like I hope to see more of that as the series progresses. Cause again, I've only gotten to about episode 4. I think there's only like 8 episodes or something akin to that. This is either an 8 or 13 episode season.
Is the doctor stuff the same in the comic books?
It is that doctor, but he doesn't even show up until the end of the first volume.
Oh, okay.
And like, I don't know. I don't want to spoil the story for the comic because it's very clear they're going to be different. But you don't get the good vibes off of that doctor that you do in this.
Yeah.
The doctor so far in the series is like, I'm trying to help, and he may be trying to help, but like, let's just say there's some animals in cages pretty quickly in the comics. So
yeah. That was one of the more interesting bits to me. I thought was the doctor stuff, and moral dilemma and whatnot.
Well, and through the doctor, we kind of see in a couple, maybe third episode in, I don't know, we see a little bit more of how the society, like, at least this region, how society is kind of restructured and working, and how there's, gated communities are still well off gated communities, and they've got electricity and stuff, like, so it's some places it's Walking Dead style, just like everything's ruins, and then other places it's like kind of roughing it, but rich people still got nice houses.
But their homeowners association is fierce.
Yes, that's true.
Don't mess with them.
You keep your pinky twitches in line, or
your lawn mowed.
Yeah.
Curb appeal.
I will say the show looks great. They I mean, this ain't no Jupiter's Legacy, all right, which didn't look terrible, okay, but it looked a little lower budget. It looks like they put money into this. It looks very good. And I mean, if Sweet Tooth's in it, they at least have CGI ears they have to do in every shot, and it always looks pretty good. Never looks floaty. Maybe they have like some little prosthetic bits they have on, and then they just add movement through CG. But the show looks good. I thought so far.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I want to see some more Manimals.
That's one thing. Like, we haven't seen like any others that we know of that are of his age, and we keep getting told that like him talking is rare. Is like not a thing that hybrids do. They apparently don't talk and are looked at as more of an animal than a human, even though they were birthed by human people, by human ladies.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I'm excited. I kind of hope it is some weird like 12 Monkeys type thing. where they're like, kill all the humans, save the animals, and it was like manufactured and let loose. That'd be great.
Oh, also, even in the post-apocalyptic world, gamers, I should say TV gamers, are always going to look like TV gamers. And what I mean is, in TV shows, gamers have the coolest pad, all lights are neon, they only play VR in a group, standing, yelling out commands in person. The TV version of what like a gamer group is the most like ridiculous. I was like, it's 2021 and we still have like 90s versions of what gamers are. It's so, and I'm sure there are groups of gamers that will get together and like yell out cheesy catchphrases and the military type slang while they're playing their games. I know that happens, but it's just as cringy in real life as it is in a TV show.
It had such Lost Boys vibes too.
Yes.
Man, if Twitch streamers were also the Lost Boys and furries, I guess.
Yeah.
Is this is the future the furries want?
I think so. They immediately make Gus their king.
Yeah.
Where the wild things are much.
Savannah said, by the way, Destiny players. Yeah, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
What time is it? Oh. Okay, any other thoughts on Sweet Tooth? Yeah, I also am looking forward to watching some more, and I am very curious to check out the comic. I don't know why I hadn't thought about it, but Jesse a couple days ago mentioned that you had read it, and I was like, oh, I should. And I was like, you know what, there's only a couple days, and I'm curious to hear what Jesse thinks of the differences. So maybe by the time we discuss more episodes, I'll have checked it out.
It's such a fast read because Jeff Lemire, remember, it's all about the art. Like so much of the storytelling happens on the faces and whatnot. So like I think I read that whole first volume in the time it takes to watch an episode or an episode and a half.
Oh, cool. Right. Okay. Interesting. Also,
and I'm probably going to keep reading too, because it's like, it leaves you on that cliffhanger, that perfect trade volume 1 cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
That kid's dad in the TV show version of his dad, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
What was he prepared his son for nothing. Like the kid was not equipped to deal with anything. If his whole lesson is like hide from anyone, anything, and I'm sure he didn't know some things, but like he didn't really teach him the correct ways to do a bunch of stuff. And then it's like, oh yeah, no, I mean, if you want the kid just to live in this one plot of land for the rest of his life, he's not going to ever see another human or person or thing that he can communicate with. At least maybe prepare him to be self-sufficient. He was not.
Like how to farm his food, stuff like that,
Right.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Okay. Let's talk about Loki.
Okay.
Loki, based on Loki. Marvel Comics. Marvel Disney Plus is Loki series. If you don't know that that's a thing that's happening, you probably aren't interested. So let's just jump into it. What'd you guys think? One of you guys, take the lead. I don't care. What'd you guys think?
I loved it, but we all knew I was going to love it anyway because Loki's been my favorite character for a long time.
Right. What about you, Jesse?
Actually, I loved Loki even before Marvel made a movie with him in it. So there you go.
Well, I mean, obviously there's like the movie. This episode brings up interesting things about the movie version of like where's the mischief? It's basically just a horrible murderer, and to be fair, to defend all the fangirls that became rabid Tom Hiddleston fans, that's his name, right?
Yes.
He's a charismatic and sometimes humorous, horrible murderer.
A scamp.
The scamp bit, the show has this great bit great stuff about it. Just he's just being a scamp.
Well, Randy, there are women that are
I know.
in love and marry serial killers, so Loki's
Well,
just not that bad. He's got
I'm not sure about that argument. I'm not sure that argument passes the sniff test, but.
Oh, Savannah, for being in the future, there's sure a lot of garbage MCM designer furniture. Oh, the setting is a whole thing. And she also says, immediately when I saw Owen Wilson, I yelled out, "Wow!" Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it.
He's
I thought it was great.
He's so good in it too, Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
But everything about it, and people have been comparing it to Umbrella Academy, and I'm there for it. It is, and the fact that Owen Wilson's character is named Mobius, and that the place looks like a Mobius painting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mobius, the Mobius artwork, but that looks like the kind of city that Mobius would have designed.
Yeah. I love I think when Melanie and I were talking about it after Umbrella Academy came up, because there's the time bureau type thing, which isn't unique to, Marvel, or DC has their version of that, and Umbrella Academy, whatever world that takes place in. But I love the retro style, the specific 50s, 60s retro style, the rusty orange, yellow, brown color scheme, and the city, which was so crisp and sharp and over busy that it is unpleasant to look at, but it looks amazing because it looks like an old 50s sci-fi novel cover. It just looks like ridiculous sci-fi artwork that could never exist, and that's where this is. And I loved it, and I liked Hiddleston in it. I kind of I'm sure he won't be intense every time. Loki is a fun character. He is weird because sometimes he's supposed to be the villain, but he's still fun, and sometimes he's just fun, but actually maybe a little mischievous in a people probably gonna die way. But they do a clever thing of, because I was unsure. I was like, well, this version of Loki can't have all the character development that we had. This is the first version of, well, no, it was Thor. Thor was before Avengers, wasn't it? Anyway, this is immediately end of Avengers 1 Loki. So I was curious how they're going to handle this character. And I feel like just this first episode, they push a lot of character development, but also just kind of push his character in a different direction, real hard, and in a way that's it's quick, but also that kind of makes sense. They kind of break him a couple times in this episode, but it's still fun, even though they're breaking him.
Like that moment where his tape runs out. He's watching his greatest hits, and then the end of file, and it's like a literal projector reel kind of thing. And
yes,
flapping. I was like, that is crazy. I think that would break any person who was just yeah, no, that's how it ends. It's over now.
Real quick, Savannah had said that she kept calling the one guys Time Lords, ha ha ha. And there was a part in there where they ran into some room, and I'm like, oh, are they gonna go get into a TARDIS? Because it kind of looked like that. But they are not, in my opinion, very good at their job. If there's all these variants and multiple variants of certain people's, running around, they're not any good at keeping this one timeline. And again, I have issue. I don't like the time control idea. So I hope it all burns down, even though it's cool looking.
The concept of the show does directly address something that I was talking to Melanie about before we started the episode, was really, since they specified explicitly that changing the time creates like time, like branches in time, alternate universes, basically, or alternate dimensions. I was like, so really, the Avengers we get at the end of, Endgame, I guess, those aren't the Avengers you start with throughout the movies. Like, all them, they all still died or got disintegrated. Like, the Endgame didn't really fix anything. It just like, screw those versions. We're new versions that are gonna, like, over here we're okay.
Yeah, make a new branch to live on.
And that kind of this show directly deals with that. It doesn't change that, but apparently the Avengers screwing with time was okay because that's part of the one true time stream, which maybe is a little, I mean, of course you're getting into time again, but a little meta too. Like, well, that's the one that matters. That's the one that the time controllers want.
That's what they said is like, or that people have, I don't remember who said it, but it's essentially the reason the Endgame works is because the Avengers were allowed to affect time travel within the true timeline. Like if they had created that other splinter, like when the Ancient One was like, no, you can't do that because that will create this, and that means we're all over here. It had to be a closed loop, essentially, the way that they were traveling. So it makes me wonder, and that's why that's important for a lot of MCU nerds is that means that Peggy has always been married to Steve Rogers within the true timeline. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked.
Right. Yeah, no, I suppose you're right.
I don't know.
One of my other favorite things, there's two main moments where, like, that kind of turn Loki in a new direction or a different direction by the end of the episode. The one being the end of File watching through his time, or what happens to him in the rest of the movies, the proper timeline. And the other being getting the Tesseract back out of the guy's drawer and then just finding all these Infinity Stones. And for a moment he's like, he just found multiples of the same Infinity Stones, just different Infinity Stones, just sitting around in this office desk. And he's like, what, you have all these? And he's like, oh yeah, we got tons of those. Some guys use them for paperweights. And like, just that moment of like,
defeated,
crushed. Yes. He's like, because that his whole life's like goal of like hunting down these super powerful things and then he's like in this place where he says it later that they're just like, they're meaningless, or they're just those super powerful things in this place, like, don't compare. They're just like, whatever.
Right.
Right.
They're so disconnected from what the rest of reality is too.
Yeah.
That he threatens to gut him like a fish and he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely. What's up, Harlem Knight? What's going on?
Hey, Harlem Knight is also from TikTok. Thanks for coming
TikTok
in.
People.
Yep.
Yay.
Yeah, so I thought that was great.
Where do they get people from? I wonder. Do they just like go to different random times and they're like, you know what? I think you would do good in our little time bureau. We're gonna snatch you out because I don't know. Maybe you die later today in a plane crash, so nobody will know. And then come and work with us, even though you don't know what fish are. I don't know. That's kind of stuff always interests me.
Well, yeah, I was curious about that, and they addressed that in a way that actually raises more questions, because the one guy, he threatens this random guy worker there, is like, I'm gonna gut you like a fish. He's like, what's a fish? And he's like, how do you not know what a fish is? He's like, I live behind a desk. I've lived my whole life behind a desk. So like, what? Why?
I think they implied that these workers were actually created by the three cosmic entities that govern time.
So they're not real people. They're like homunculi or something.
Right. So
Gross.
I'm curious about that. I'm hoping that they're going to explore that a little bit further, because that was some of the most interesting parts of it. Because you had people like Owen Wilson's character, who seems to be like, I don't know, like he seems to be a little more flexible than the rest of them. And then
Right.
the rest of them are just like the one gal is just like doing her job, and she's kind of sick of it too. Like, just trim the timeline, which also makes me think like you think about quantum theory, you think about the multiverse and how it works. These people are working nonstop, just trimming timelines, just like, oh, that's got to go. That's got to go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
got to go.
Jesse, you mentioned earlier Owen Wilson, and Owen Wilson is, I hate Owen Wilson, but he's not somebody I've generally been like a fan of. It's like, okay, I mean, he does his thing. He has a certain thing.
Right.
I like him though in this role a lot, because he plays it. He's just so like nonchalant and relaxed and cool and level the whole time, which is kind of great. Just the way he plays that against Loki, interrogating him, and just like, no, I mean, I don't know. He's really good in this, and also it's been ages since I seen him in anything, so it's interesting to see an older Owen Wilson. And as Melanie pointed out, I knew somebody was going to get a little chuckle out of that. As Melanie pointed out, Owen Wilson in a TV show. Like,
Yeah.
He's one of those actors that, other than maybe a cameo role, I can't think of him doing hardly like any TV, if any TV shows at all. So
it's fun.
Disney buys everyone eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's an interesting concept, and it offers kind of a lot to dig into if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe nerd, for sure, and I'm sure that'll tie more into it. But also just as a sci-fi nerd, and as a as a person fascinated by time travel, there's a lot of interesting concepts to dig into, really.
Do you guys want some salty bits?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the first salty bit, the very first scene that we see Owen Wilson in, where he's taking care of it's a variant timeline, but it's also a variant timeline that is a crime scene. So he's on the scene of the crime, and then they're going to prune that timeline. And he asks this little girl who did this, right? You know who did this? And they look at the stained glass window. And my brain, I immediately go to, well, that's obviously a reference to Loki, right? Well, a lot of people are turning that into Mephisto, because it's the literal devil.
Again, like why people are so people are so hung up on getting Mephisto in this. Like, why? Again, we're gonna get this.
I don't know. Although I will admit, like, everyone was so sold on the Mephisto angle in WandaVision that it would be a really clever bait and switch to just throw him into this for no apparent reason.
Right.
And then have Loki pitted against the literal devil. That could be fun. The god of mischief and the king of hell. I doubt it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the themes of like free will. Obviously, there's a heavy and not like subtle theme in this. Not subtle, but one thing, I think Loki's still a liar. He enjoys hurting people. I don't care about his speech at the end where he's like, no, that my mischief is that I play like I like hurting people. It's like, no, dude. Just like 5 minutes ago, you had a smile on your face as you were time jumping that one guard lady from Lovecraft Country, jumping her around the room. You were enjoying messing with her, and he didn't know that could have killed her for all he knows.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
he is still sadistic, but they're trying to do something with his character to make him less of a murderous villain after showing him like the horrible ways he's killed people throughout the movies. So
Well,
I'm just catching. I'm sorry, I caught up on Paul's last comment. I was very confused for a moment, but it was from a few minutes ago. Of course
I'm
I
pretty
lost
sure
that.
everyone in the Avengers has murdered some people doing their, job or whatever. So I don't know why everybody's so hung up on Loki having killed people. I mean, they all do. That's what you do when you got superpowers. I think you do it accidentally even sometimes. But yeah, it doesn't make him a bad guy.
I forgot about the one where he stabbed that lady's eye out. What was that one? Like, that was unnecessary.
He's taking an eye to get access to something, I believe.
Yeah, see, he needed it.
But he can turn into, like, he can change his appearance. He can't just, like, make his eye look like her eye.
Not to a scanner. Come on, Randy.
Uh-huh. Magic is real. Magic is real inconsistent in this world.
It's iffy. So here's the other salty bit.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's pretty common knowledge that we're going to get different variants of Loki. And they even hinted that in this, like spoilers, they hint at the fact that there's going to be more than one Loki that we're going to see in this series. And one of the ones that's been a little bit controversial, and I don't know why, is She-Loki. And people are saying that this is, I'm assuming because it's also Pride Month right now as we're recording, that the fact that Loki is a people are calling it gender fluid, right? Because he's a female in one iteration, but really, like, Loki is an Asgardian god of mischief. He doesn't even, like, gender for the most part doesn't even enter his purview.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who are mad about it, like, or they're like, we're forcing it on kids. I'm like, not any worse than She's the Man, Mulan, Mystique transforms into everything under the sun.
Yeah.
That's all just SJW propaganda.
But those are female characters, and they can do it because they need to be men in a man's world.
People are so, like, weirdly oversensitive to that. We're not doing news, and the Sandman. But if you follow, like, any outrage on Twitter, you've seen the Sandman stuff. Anyway, it's a what if story.
Right.
What if stories, essentially, like, they've always done that. Like, what can we change about a character? What would be crazy? Mm-hmm. Gender is like, maybe now it's weirder to do that as just like it's weird, but not because of the sensitivities of the people who are outraged by it, but because of sensitivities of the trans community, maybe. But, like, that's such a basic, like, obvious, like, whoa, a female Loki. Sure. Okay. Yeah. What if stories? Do it.
No, it doesn't even matter. She's a shapeshifter, basically. So he could be anything he wants to be. It doesn't have to have a gender at all. I don't understand why it's even an issue with a character like that. I mean, it shouldn't be an issue either way, but especially with a character that can change his appearance at will. That doesn't matter, I
appreciate, Jesse, that both of your points of contention, your salty
bits,
really had nothing to do with the show itself. It was people's ridiculous reactions to various aspects, various possibilities of the show.
Well, also, we're like, even if we take the Asgardian bit out of it, like, if we just assume that, like, Loki is supposed to be a man kind of thing, which I don't. Right. But even if we assume that, we're dealing with a multiverse here. Like, that's the crux of this, is that there's not supposed to be a multiverse. Well, in a multiverse, there is a universe where I am a female. Right? And that's what this could be.
Haven't these people watched Sliders? Because if they did, they would know.
Right. Sliders.
Not nearly enough people talk about Sliders, but we like to.
Sliders. Sorry.
At least the whisper, so good.
At least Sliders pre-season 4.
Yeah. That's the thing with Sliders. It took a dump real hard after a couple of seasons. It's one of the first shows I can recall that I watched regularly when it like back in the day,
Hmm.
that took just a horrible nosedive to the point where I was like, what happened to the show? And stopped watching. That's one of the first shows I can
Hmm.
recall that. And
They
also
lo-
the X-Men animated series, hot take.
they lost too many of the original characters, and then they focused on the Cro-Mags way too much. That's what happened to it.
Right.
But yeah,
It stopped being so much about like alternate dimensions and more about like being, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica or something.
yeah, exactly.
Right, right. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on Loki? We're doing good on time. What time is it?
I mean, we
Yeah.
really cut. We were for one episode, which is all we got. We really kind of dove in.
Hmm.
Right. Right. I mean, we covered most of the main things. I'm sure there's little things, but yeah, it was. Oh, we didn't talk about the DB Cooper thing. I'm a little surprised at how much of just like a one-off throwaway thing that was, and also I guess it makes sense. But at first, I was really thrown. I was like, wait, that would have been well before they came to
Yeah.
Earth for blah blah blah. I'm like, oh yeah, they have the Rainbow Bridge though. Of course, they probably came to Earth at some point.
Hmm.
Right.
And so it was a throwaway, amusing little tale, I guess.
Yeah.
All because he lost a bet to Thor.
Hmm.
I didn't that it made sense that way. It's like, oh, it was a bet. I like stuff like that. It hints at like it's like in Ragnarok, aka the best Marvel thing. Uh,
Ever, yes.
don't fight me. I don't care.
Don't at him. Don't at
You're not
Randy.
going to change my mind. Uh, the stupid story about how he like disguised himself as a snake and then turned back into Loki and stabbed him or something like I love the little tales of him messing with Thor when they were younger. That makes them feel that makes Loki seem more Loki like
Yeah.
Right.
than any of the like movie villain stuff we've seen him do. Hearing the tales of him just doing maybe not innocent little scamp stuff, but more along the lines of mischief. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Melanie,
Yeah.
what should we be amazed about?
Okay. So it's another graphene discussion, but
We love graphene.
we do.
Yeah.
A study published recently in Nature Communications is telling how they made HDDs or hard disk drives with graphene that multiply their space. What do you call it? How much space they can save on there tenfold. So, and let's see, the thickness was reduced from 2.5 nanometers to around 3 nanometers, which corresponds to 1 terabyte per square inch. So basically they made hard drives, not solid state ones though, but still hard drives that are going to be able to hold way more information. And now since they have found another way to make graphene much cheaper and faster, this might actually be something that they can start producing and pumping out there hopefully soon. Yay!
Yeah. I want a graphene computer now. Just totally made out of graphene. That would be the most expensive computer ever.
It's kind of interesting. I was I was watching some YouTube video earlier about, I don't know, some game developer guy talking about Unity 5, the new version of Unity, which is a popular game engine. And like one of the features it introduced, Nanite or something, makes it possible to render just tons, like way more like geometry in a scene than before, because it's got some clever trickery with like what not to render so that a computer can actually handle it. Anyway, point is, and why it ties into this kind of is, he was saying, so essentially, because they don't have to be as concerned about poly count, like they can have incredibly high super detailed 3D models. He's like, the bottleneck at this point is for games isn't like processing like how much you can have in a scene or in an environment. It's storage. Games are too big. They're like, because those models are huge.
Yeah.
And so now the trouble developers are having is figuring out how to make games smaller so that it's actually plausible to install on your device or download or whatever. And the hard drive thing reminded me of that. It's like, yeah, so storage, like that is one of the next kind of, I mean, when video card prices finally come down, storage is kind of one of the next potential bottlenecks for limiting like what you can do in games and stuff.
One of these days we're going to just have to start storing everything on DNA, because you can restore ridiculous amounts of information there. I know. And it's something that they're working on, but I don't think we're really all that close to it. But I thought they did put a movie on some DNA, but you know, that takes up such tiny little space because it folds so well.
Wait, they put a movie on DNA?
Yeah, they did. I think it was Snow White or something. I can't remember.
Would have been funny if it was Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no, it was.
Just to mess with future people and be like, okay, whenever you die, we're going to put you in some sap for the future.
For the future. Were we able to make dinosaurs out of this? No, but we were able to watch Jurassic Park.
It's even better. It's going to be super elaborate, long-term Rickroll. The future, they download it or they extract it, encode or de-encode the DNA, and it's literally that whatever was it, Rick, that music video.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking like all it is just the clip of Jeff Goldblum saying, "Life finds a way."
Yeah.
And then a human jumps out of the closet and punches the future alien in the face. I can't believe I forgot this segue during our Sweet Tooth talk. So one quick thing. This is maybe something you should be amazed about. How about this? This is apparently a news story because it was ran by USA Today. Here we go.
Oh. That's one of our better sources.
Real front page that went out. This is real. They actually ran this. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
So it was an ad, obviously. It's an ad for Sweet Tooth.
A front page ad. Wow.
Front page ad. I feel like most people talking about this kind of put the blame, and I feel like blame is appropriate. Put the blame on the newspaper, which I agree with. Some people put it on Netflix. I'm like, dude, Netflix is a company. If you're like front page ad on, or we'll let you run a full page ad on the front. Okay, yeah, and they're gonna think of like they're gonna Netflix it up. They're gonna think of the most like potentially viral, crazy thing they can, and it's let's make it look like actual hybrid babies are being born on the cover of USA Today magazine or a newspaper.
I know people are dumb, but it says advertisement right there at the very top of all of it.
You see that? You walking down the street, that's not what you see. You see hybrid babies born across the U.S. with the picture of this with the Sweet Tooth.
This might be like like the Super Bowl ads are basically the high watermark of advertising for traditional media. This might be just below it. Like now I'm a little afraid of what other companies will do with this, because if USA Today is willing to give you the front page,
Paul has nails it. This is trolling at the highest level. I mean, I don't know, maybe they don't care, but people were not happy about this, and I would agree that it makes USA Today look bad. And yes, it's an advertisement, and this isn't the actual. I mean, that's how it was presented. It was basically a cover or a wrap, or whatever. So then you remove that, and you get the actual front page.
Oh,
but I mean, so the front page is now page 2, really, because I don't care you call it a wrap or not. That's the front page. That's what people are seeing on the news shelf, on the whatever the newsstand. I think it's if you're trying to appear as a reputable news service, and I think any news service that considers itself so should be concerned about that in a post-Trump president world. Don't run front page headline ads. It's not a good idea.
Well, it's just a little mischievous. They're taking after Loki.
They're just scamps.
Little scamps.
Yeah.
Those news reporting scamps.
Yep.
God, it even goes on with some stories about like fake stories, exclusive photos inside. I mean, I know it's an advertisement, but it just makes it look like a Bat Boy tabloid thing,
It does. But it's super meta, and I super appreciate how the news just made the news.
That's a good point.
Very fun.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know the last time I ever, if ever, really thought that much about the USA Today newspaper. But
right. Got us talking.
All right. So, yes, we're just over an hour, but we did it. We did it. I forgot that story earlier.
Good job, guys.
Jesse, anything to tell anybody about before we go? Got anything coming up?
Nope. The only thing I was going to pimp, I already pimped.
Okay. Well, did you ever hit your 1,000 people?
I did. Yes. Now I can do lives. I went live with Bad Gamer Elite, who is the gametographers on our Twitch followers tonight. And I went dual live with my buddy Ben, which was kind of my goal in the first place. I was like, yeah, I want to be able to do that. So I need 1,000 followers.
Yeah, that works.
How do the live videos work on TikTok? Like, how long are can you go live for a minute? It's TikTok, right?
Yeah,
Clearly, old man doesn't understand TikTok.
Yeah, you can go live for. I don't know if there's a limit. Like I've seen people go live for a long time, but
okay, so it's just a live. You can just do a live stream.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
And but it's kind of what's cool is that you can link them though. Like so they go live, you go live, and then there's a link function, and you can send an invite, and you can both be live at the same time. The one thing that's like frustrating is now you have two different chats. So like if I'm linked with Ben, I have my chat and my viewers, and he has his chat and his viewers, and I can't see them. So I wish they would integrate those somehow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I know like Instagram has a similar thing where you can go live with people. Facebook is supposed to, but I never use Facebook on mobile, so I don't know how that works. I think it's a mobile only thing. So I've never had too much experience with that, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody go live on TikTok, but yeah, I'll have to check it out sometime.
Yeah.
And I know you said it earlier, but hey, Jesse, since you've got some momentum going over on TikTok, how do people find you over there?
You can find me at nerdsounds.com, but it's all spelled out, so it's nerdsounds, the word dot and com.
Cool. Awesome.
And you can watch me destroy some action figure boxes. I've got a whole series of that going on. It's like it's not my proudest moment, but outrage somehow gets follows. Like the funniest thing, Harlem Knight sent me a message earlier today. Harlem Knight was in our Twitch chat earlier, and he did a duet reaction video of me backing up over in my car, backing up over a Batman box, and he duetted it, in order to make that reaction video, and it's like one of his most viewed videos now.
Wow.
So, I mean, say what you want. I may be a horrible monster, but I get results.
You're like, I can't think of of a more updated reference. So I'm gonna go 90s. You're like the Jerry Springer of the toy collector world right now.
That's much more timely because my brain was like, coffee's for closers. I went Glenn Ross because I'm an old man who appreciates Jack Lemmon.
Okay. What do I don't think I have anything. Hey, podcast listeners. Maybe by the time this hits the podcast feed, last week's episode will be out. As of right now, last week's stream has not hit the podcast feed yet. I've just been busy this week and probably working on stuff I don't need to be, but yeah, I've been busy, so my bad. The The Loki streams, though, I'm definitely going to push these out quick because it's so rare that we get to talk about something so timely.
Yeah.
That said, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks future people for listening. If you enjoyed this, check us out at grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. We do this every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's 8. We go live at 8 because if we start saying we go live at 8:30, we're not going to hit the stream till 9. So
Right.
Yes.
read between the lines. You'll figure out what time we go live.
Yeah.
And that's it. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good one. Bye.
You're going to start buying toys just to destroy the boxes.
I probably will. Yeah.